the Forged Trader, where successful traders are not born, they are forged. We're going to be talking about trading today. Trading involves risk. Please make sure you know what you're doing before you do it. Okay, let me see if I can get myself in frame here. All right, so first of all, I missed yesterday's recap. I unexpectedly had to drive basically 3 hours round trip to take care of something, and that said, it was not a good day. I ended up taking 3 trades, went 0 for 3, and was down about $700 across all of my accounts. So you can kind of see the balances here do not reflect just a $500 profit. They also reflect that $700 and something loss from yesterday. And the one thing that I can say about yesterday is after the first trade, I was 100% chasing. I know I'm working through some of this stuff and really kind of trying to clean my decision making up. But I'll tell you what happened. As I was setting up my trade plan for the morning, I was seeing basically 2 different things. And let me see if I can sort of recreate yesterday's move. Okay, so I'm on Central Time, right? Okay, so this is market open here, right? So basically what I was expecting to see happen was basically a move down here and then utilizing this supply zone that had already been broken as a support level. And so I expected it to kind of come in here and then bounce back up and then hit this support level. Of course, we have this big, huge fair value gap up here from, I don't know, a few days ago. Anyway, the other thing that I saw was that if it did not bounce off of that I expected it to go all the way down to this trend line, which has been continuing since I think November. So what ended up happening is I set my buy somewhere in here. I actually had a pretty good little buy setup, but it just immediately went against me. And then I thought, well, okay, so it's past it, and perhaps we've got an opportunity here. So I took the short down to the trend line, and of course it came back up and wiped out my stop. And I don't even know what I did the third time. Anyway, it just continually got worse and worse and worse. So definitely some bad decision making, some chasing, and ultimately what I should have done, as I'm starting to see, is as this came back around, I should have gone for the retest up here and then looked for a short opportunity down here. I still kind of would have been thinking about targeting down here to the trend line, which it didn't make, so I'm not sure that it would have really gotten me there anyway. Based on what I'm doing with the supply and demand zones and what I'm looking at, I am definitely seeing some bigger moves as my trade opportunities, and I would sure love to find, instead of 100+ point trades, these 20-point trades, something like that I could do with maybe a 5-point stop or something along those lines with a pretty nice favorable risk-reward ratio. But I'm still working through some of the dynamics of getting to that point. So in the meantime, I'm just kind of trading what I see. And I should have just stopped at 1 yesterday. I would have been fine. Fortunately, the risk on trades 2 and 3 were much smaller than the risk on trade 1. So it could have been worse, but anyway. So my apologies for not a reasonable recap on that one. I wanted to give you guys kind of the heads up as far as what happened, just for the sake of completeness, before I got into today's trade recap. So today, basically what we were looking at right as we got to open here. So we had a new supply zone within the old supply zone. It looked pretty heavy in terms of strength. And as it bounced back down at this point, I was not exactly, I was pretty confident that this was going to be operating as a resistance level. And what I saw was the trend line, of course, getting closer. We've got demand all the way down here. We really don't have a demand zone in between, or nothing that I've noticed anyway. And so what I wanted to see was at least a little bit of a retest here. And then I wanted to see the short move come down here. Now, I was looking for a retest on this previous supply zone I could have gotten a much more favorable opportunity by using focusing on a retest on this new one, because that would have been a true retest at this point. But what I ultimately ended up doing was, and I know it's a little bit challenging just to kind of see this, but basically here, this is, let me see if I can identify it. So where I got in was roughly, and this is the challenge with mapping everything out on NQ and trading on MNQ. I suppose I could put the lines, it's just double the work. So what I'm doing is I'm seeing my entries. I am mapping it out on NQ because it's more reliable, and then I'm trading on MNQ. I'm just doing a manual trade entry. But I did my risk reward. Anyway, I had set my stop actually right up here at this pivot point after it kind of went up through here and kind of came back up here and then bounced down. But I got in basically right around, actually just on the bottom side. Let's just see where the actual number was. I got in at 370.50. So 370.50. Yeah, so not exactly the most favorable of entries. And my risk reward was like 1.4 to 1. Not exactly what I'm normally going for, but again, it's the opportunity that I saw as I start cleaning up this process and getting a little bit better at identifying opportunities. I'm sure I will continue to work on improving that, but entered here with with my stop up here, 421.25-ish. Let's see how that, 429.50. So, I did it all the way up at the top. Okay, so yeah, so my stop was all the way up here at that previous pivot high, and then my target was basically about where it would be passing through this trend line, which of course was a moving target depending on how quickly it got there. But my expectation was that it was going to get there pretty quick, which it did, and ultimately got in here. Did have a pullback here, got me a little nervous there, but anyway, shot back down. Did pass that trend line and continued quite a bit further, almost down to that demand zone, and then it's shot back up. I was also expecting to see a bounce off of that demand zone, which it did, but at this point I had a 336.84 point trade. I was not interested in doing anything else. In fact, as you can see, it did come back up off of that a little bit, and it's still bouncing off of it. So we might see this might be a retest here with another bounce back up into this supply zone. I think is a reasonable expectation, but certainly not something that I want to take today. I am done trading for the day, and I'm comfortable with where I landed. So as you can see, across 10 accounts, up a little bit over 500 per account, which almost made up for yesterday's losses. I'm very happy and pleased with that, considering it was 3 losses and 1 win. That is me moving in the right direction in terms of risk-reward ratio, and starting to figure some things out little by little. Definitely will still be working on that chasing aspect of trying to find those trades after taking a losing trade. Obviously not the direction that I want to go. I need to be a little bit more focused in on what my rules for myself are. If I take a loser, do I take another trade or not? That's yet to be determined. I'm still working through and figuring a lot of things out. I'm just figuring them out in evaluation mode so that things go well. Of course, we'll hopefully get through this and get past those and move into PA. Otherwise, we may have to reset them, and if we do, they've got half, or I think $35 resets right now, or half price resets or something along those lines. Would not be the end of the world, would not be ideal, but certainly wouldn't be the end of the world as I look towards moving into more of a getting these accounts actually funded and into PA status. So anyway, if you have not gotten yourself set up with Apex Trader Funding, ATF.com, use coupon code GAC50. We'll get you the best deal that is always available at any given time. code GAC50, George Apple Charlie 50. And other than that, I think that's pretty much it for today. Pleased with how the day went. I definitely still have a lot of work to do. Part of this process is really just re-engaging in that educational process on an ongoing day-to-day basis. Every day I'm doing something to improve my understanding on some of the fundamentals and the basics that maybe did not hit home before. And so as I do that, and as I learn how to operate within the confines of some of these other levels and things that I hadn't really worked with before, hopefully we'll see some improvement. Anyway, today was a good day. Anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. God bless. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. And